All right, welcome to the Christian Constitutional Conservative. I am here checking out the MSM or the mainstream media and to expose the lies that they like to pander around and to show how they like to attack our Constitution and our Christian values that this nation has. So let's go ahead and get started. We all know Joy Reid and her race baiting that she does on here, and how she recently admitted that she only went to a top-notch college, I think it's Harvard, because of affirmative action. So it wasn't based on how smart she is. It wasn't based on how intelligent she is or how good her grades were, but based on the content of her skin. All right. So she admitted that, um, and I mean, nobody really doubted it at all at any point anyway. So let's go ahead. This is the first time I am reacting to Joy Reid. First time. And as I said, I'm a Christian constitutional conservative. So let's go ahead and give her a listen. Listen for the next 11 minutes.
But we begin tonight with some advice for the Republican Party. To win elections, you got to read the room. You listen to the American people, you pay attention to their priorities, and then those Americans vote based on what they want.
I'm going to start off this by saying I am not a Republican anymore. I just moved to Indiana, and the Republican Party is pathetic here. Also, just a lot of Republicans have moved to left. A lot of Republicans are now Democrats from 10 years ago. They're 10 years ago Democrats, to put it mildly. All right, to put it like that. So I just said, you know what? I'm going to be an independent now. I'm not going to be a Republican. I do lean Republican, but I'm going to pick and choose who I am going to vote for in elections. All right, I will probably lean more to the Republican, but if the Republican is just another washed up, if he's just a Democrat from 10 years ago, I'm not voting for him. All right, I'm not. So um, I think at this point in time, the Republican Party is left of Lincoln. All right, and they are. If Lincoln's a constitutionalist, they've moved away from the Constitution. All right, they've gone away from constitutionalism. I'll put it like that, because the terms right and left, we borrowed it from Europe. We borrowed it from France. In France, they had the left and the right. The right were monarchists. The left were, the Robespierre types. And I don't like, we're a constitutional nation. We aren't similar to Europe. We have a different government structure. So I go by constitutionalist and not constitutionalist, and I like the people who align closer to the original intent of the Constitution, and not for people who want to try to put their progressive ideas on the Constitution. Anyway.
It isn't complicated. It's the kind of stuff you learn in the third grade. Except, whoops, you don't want third graders reading books anymore. But Republicans.
Come on, that is so disingenuous. So disingenuous. Listen, California is the one that banned To Kill a Mockingbird and Huckleberry Finn. All right? Red states are banning things like a book, I think it's called Gender Queer, where it has pornography in it, and it was in third graders third graders school libraries. All right? Come on, you can't even compare.
Republicans simply cannot read the room, choosing instead to occupy a much smaller voting bloc of social conservatives who are hell-bent on policies that are not about the unborn, but rather about undoing 20th century progress. And so
killing babies is not 20th century is the opposite of 20th century progress. It's actually going backwards. You know who else killed babies? Greeks. Greeks killed babies too. All right. And during Nazi Germany, they killed babies who were not very who weren't blonde-haired, blue-eyed, or they had deformities. They killed those babies. I have read that in some African countries, they used to, I don't know if anymore, but during the 20th century, they used to kill twin babies because they didn't know if which one had the good spirit and which one had the bad spirit. So killing babies is not
Day, the
progress.
2024 Republican field.
And also notice that most babies killed, the majority of babies killed, are black babies. There's a genocide going on.
Minus Donald Trump, addressed evangelical voters at the Family Leadership Summit in Iowa. The event was hosted by fired former Fox host Tucker Carlson, who just days ago sat down to interview accused rapist and human trafficker Andrew Tate for his new show on Elon Twitter. Good times. Here's a sampling of what Republicans and Tucker's furrowed eyebrows pitched to evangelicals in the early voting state today.
America needs positive, powerful, biblically sound leadership to regain the high ground.
How many COVID shots did you take, and how do you feel about it now, in retrospect?
How many COVID shots did you take?
0. January 6th. What was that? Do you think that was an insurrection?
I've never used the word insurrection, Tucker, over the last 2 years, but it was a riot that took place at the Capitol that day.
If you want me to review each of the candidates, I can do that. Just leave the link below. I don't have a problem bringing my Christian constitutional conservative perspective to some of the things they said. So if you would like that, go ahead and put that in the comment below, and that'll be something I could look into doing.
At the same event, Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds signed her draconian 6-week abortion ban into law.
Draconian, come on. If that's what the people want, and it's done through the democratic process, it's not draconian. It's what the people want. Get out of here.
I convened a special session of Iowa's General Assembly to once again address the most important human rights cause of our time, protecting unborn human lives from the atrocity of abortion. A worthy battle, and one I will never concede. I have never been prouder to once again sign a bill into law.
The governor's choice of venue for signing the bill is intentional, of course, playing into...
Yes, the Family Summit. That's the best place to sign an anti-abortion or limiting abortion bill, at a family summit. Now, if you're like Joy Reid, who doesn't want a family, then yeah, you go to the abortion summit, where you don't care about kids that you're never going to have.
To the weird right-wing delusion that abortion bans are popular. They're not. Not even in Iowa.
We'll see. We'll see. And it's not an abortion ban. It's a restriction to 6 weeks. That's not an abortion ban. Obviously, you can get it before the first 6 weeks, according to this bill. That's not a total abortion ban. I would be for a total abortion ban because I'm a Christian. All right? But they're not going for it. And I bet you she's going to get reelected. And I bet the legislature that passed this is going to stay Republican. So it doesn't matter. It is popular. If it wasn't popular, well, we'll see. The next election, we'll see how Iowa stands. If you're really sure that it's not popular, then the Democrats should take over this state next election.
Where 61% of adults say abortion should be legal in all or most cases. Iowa voters don't want their freedom snatched away. They don't want abortion banned before many people even know that they're pregnant. Bans that shackle rape and incest survivors.
I think after 2016, we can say that polling is dead. And you know, I'm a Trump supporter. I'm not a Trump cultist. All right, some of those people are nuts and crazy. All right, but I do prefer Trump right now over the candidates. I was for a few months there I was between DeSantis and Trump, but I've come to the decision for Trump. I won't be voting for him or anyone because I'm an independent now, so I can't vote in the primaries here in Pennsylvania. But I'm pulling for Trump. I have looked at Vivek, and if he wins, I'll be excited too. But I don't think he's going to win. Trump's going to win anyway. But but back to the abortion thing. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I forgot what I was saying. Let me just rewind this a little
Many
bit.
people even know that they're pregnant. Voters don't want their freedom snatched away.
Oh yeah, polls. So even the polls, like they have Trump by so much. I mean, I just don't trust polls anymore. Whether they're done by Republicans, whether they're done by Democrats, ever since 2016, the polls are broken. They're broken.
They don't want abortion banned before many people even know that they're pregnant. Bans that shackle rape and incest survivors, many of whom are children, by forcing their tiny little bodies to give birth. No one wants this, except this tiny little evangelical enclave.
Now I want to know, are there exceptions to exceptions in here? Because she talked about that. So let's go ahead and look real quick. Exceptions. Sorry, this is just reaction right here. You're getting live reaction. Exceptions for rape and incest in Iowa abortion restriction. Because that's what it is. It's not a ban. If it was a ban, it'd say no, none at all. No abortion, period. Let's see here. Mm, mm. I'm not saying anything that says that there is not, or anything that says that there is. I would probably have to pull up the bill itself. Let's see. Yeah. So they're probably gaslighting us, and there's probably not a restriction. There you go, right here, Des Moines Register. Iowa's new law will ban nearly all abortions. What are the exceptions? Will sign a law that bans nearly all abortions after cardiac activity can be detected in the embryo, which can occur around 6 weeks of pregnancy. It's a dramatic curtailment, blah, blah, blah. Of course, they're going to say that. But the law does include exceptions for pregnancies resulting from rape or incest and for medical emergencies that endanger the life of the pregnant woman. Says that. Des Moines Register. They are liberal. Okay? They are not your Republican newspaper. So let's listen to her again. Maybe I got it wrong.
Bodies to give birth. No one wants this.
Let's
Their
go back.
tiny little bodies to give birth.
A little bit more.
Survivors, many of whom are
Let's
children,
go back.
banned before many people even know that they're pregnant. Bans that shackle rape and incest survivors.
No, it didn't. See? The lies. The lies from these people.
Many of whom are children.
Either it's a lie or she's ignorant. That's all there is to it. She either lied or she's ignorant.
By forcing their tiny little bodies to give birth. No one wants this, except this tiny little evangelical enclave at this hidey hole summit, and the trolls who want to control women. Forced birth is an extreme position, an extreme.
Control women. Women want to control women now. Get out of here.
Unpopular, and yet Republican leaders are leaning all the way in.
If you follow my history channel called Modern Josephus, I actually dealt with history in the Constitution today, this morning. I'm reacting to a history channel on YouTube and called Crash Course U.S. History, and we went over the Constitution. And he even said, and he's a liberal, and obviously if you watch that, I point out that he's very liberal in the way he sees U.S. history, and I pointed out how even he admitted that the Constitution and the 10th Amendment, he didn't name the 10th Amendment, but he talked about how the Constitution allows states to have some power to decide on moral issues. Well, abortion is a moral issue, so states have the responsibility to address it. And the people vote for the representatives that are in the legislature. Now, if they don't like the 6-week span and they want full abortion or full access to abortion, then in the next cycle, they will be able to vote for a Democrat majority. and a Democrat governor. All right? So we'll see. We'll see.
As they giddily celebrate their violent agenda at Christian prom. Meanwhile, Republicans in Washington are waging a culture war with the military. Today, the House narrowly passed a deeply partisan defense bill that would limit abortion access, transgender care, and diversity training for military personnel. Going all in on culture wars, pushing voter suppression as their only tactic to win elections. Rinse and repeat. This is pretty much.
So, Joy, why do you want the Christians to pay for abortions? Why do you want to force us to pay for abortions? Because it's our taxes. So the military would be using tax money from people, from Christians, to fund abortions for these women to travel to states to get their abortion.
Much the Republican platform for 2024. The stuff that they've been doing for years, despite elections, plural, proving that this strategy is a dud. Voting is what forces democracies to listen.
See, she talks about democracy. Yet she doesn't like how the people of Iowa democratically voted on abortion. This cracks me up. This cracks me up, the level of ignorance these people have.
And yet, the Gilead Party is refusing to listen. Americans will reject this, of course. It's practically written on the wall in disco neon font. But these guys will not read the room. They're pretending that they're not, or they simply refuse to do it. How else do you win? I mean, how else would you win an election that way? Here's a secret. You won't. Joining me now is Maria Teresa Kumar, President and CEO of Voto Latino, Stuart Stevens, Senior Advisor for the Lincoln Project, and Robert Jones, President of the Public Religion Research Institute and author of the upcoming book, The Hidden Roots of White Supremacy. Thank you all for being here. Robbie, I do want to start with you because the thing I really can't understand, and I do want to ask all of you about this, but I want to start with you because you're my numbers guy, is that abortion is not even a close call issue in terms of whether people think it should be legal or illegal. And that includes most American Christians, right? I mean, talk me down on that if I'm wrong. I don't think there is a majority that's bigger than maybe 15% of people who want, for instance, a national abortion ban.
No, Joy, that's exactly right. You're talking about reading the room. They might just want to read some polls, both nationally and in Iowa. So, again, you showed 6 in 10 Iowans support the legality of abortion. It's 2/3 of Americans that support the legality of abortion. If you look at Iowa, and, let's just be clear, this is a near total ban on abortion with very few exceptions. If we ask people, even in Iowa, right, we think of this, the heartland, only 5% of Iowans support a total ban on abortion. Like, that's how extreme this position is. And even if you look at other Christians, right, other people of faith, white evangelicals are by far the outliers. Only about a quarter of white evangelicals say that abortion should be legal in all or most cases. But most other Christian groups, including African-American Protestants, including Catholics, both Latino and white Catholics, including Jews and other people of faith, actually have majorities supporting abortion. And if you look state by state, there is no state in which more than 14% support a total ban on abortion, 1/4, right? So that's how out of step, this ban is. And it's worth noting, too, just one quick thing, is that white evangelicals are this kind of shrinking outlier group, right? So even in Iowa, they make up only 1 in 5 Iowans. Right. So this is the kind of a minority of the Iowa population. There's far more unaffiliated Iowans, religiously unaffiliated Iowans, 29% compared to only 19% of Iowans who are white evangelical Protestants. So this is an extreme, a group that holds extreme views on abortion, and it's a shrinking and graying portion of the electorate.
Okay, so obviously this guy is not a constitutionalist and has no idea what the Constitution is. All right, here we go. 1. Difference between state restriction on abortion and federal restriction on abortion. That's number 1. There's a difference there. And I don't know why he's talking about a national abortion ban when they're talking about Iowa. Iowa isn't making a decision for the entire nation. Last I checked, they're making a decision for Iowa. As a constitutionalist, I'm also against a national abortion ban, unless it's by an amendment. If you can pass an amendment to the Constitution making abortion illegal in the United States, That's the only way to do it. And we know that the way the political landscape is right now, that's not going to happen. But in the same way, you cannot make a national acceptance bill or law for the whole nation unless it passes, again, an amendment. That's the only way. You need an amendment, and we're not there either. All right? Now, Iowa is going to pass this bill. And the elections, there will be elections that will come up in Iowa. If the people are really mad about this, then the legislature in Iowa is going to flip to the Democrats. The governorship will flip to the Democrats. So we'll see if the people of Iowa really are this upset or not. Because elections determine what the people want, because it's a democracy. And Iowans voted for the people who are currently in that position, who voted for this ban or this restriction on abortion. So the people backed them up already. So there's nothing to say about that.
Well, Stuart, I didn't major in math, but I can do a little math. That sounds like math that you cannot win an election. You used to run a Republican.
This sounds like you guys are all ignorant. If you're shaking your head like this, you're ignorant. Ignorant.
In campaigns, make it make sense to me how appealing to 15% of the population, even in a state like Iowa, can ever get you to win or even be reelected. I don't understand what their math is.
Yeah, it's even worse than just the top line numbers show, because the intensity here, when you ask what is the very favorable and very unfavorable, it has shifted now. So the very unfavorable on these new abortion restrictions is twice and more what the very favorable is. So, there was a time when there was more intensity among the anti-abortion crowd, but they've now achieved a lot of what they wanted, and it's probably a natural sort of human reaction. The intensity's on the other side. It's the same way with guns. Look, the group that they were meeting with today in Iowa, it's a group that has one thing in common. They always endorse someone. Whoever they endorse has never been elected president. So I think they're going to keep this perfect string intact this year. Donald Trump didn't win Iowa last time, and they played Hail to the Chief when he walked into the room come the following January. So it's really this sort of cycle that the Republican Party is in of trying to be more pure. And it's just going to, you saw Tucker Carlson asking the governor of Arkansas if he had a COVID shot. I mean, this is just absurd. 85% of Americans have COVID shots.
Right.
So, if I'm in politics, I'll be with the 85. You can have the other. It's really a non-governing party that is just spinning deeper and deeper into this darkness.
This Lincoln Project pedo group leader guy here. The reason why I say a Lincoln Project pedo group is because a couple of their guys were found out to be, involved in pedophilia. All right, either child porn videos or whatever. So talking about morals and talking about purity. These guys forget their purity. They're not pure. All right, their best friends were pedos. All right, so and then they keep on acting like restrictions in Iowa translates to a national restriction. I don't get that. I don't get what these people are thinking, except for they're not thinking. They're just saying stuff. That's all. So Iowa is still going to be a red state in the next election and in many elections to come. All right, they're not going anywhere.
Right. I mean, they'll be pure, but I don't see how they're going to be purely elected. I mean, this is MTK. Listen. I think people forget Barack Obama won Iowa. Like, Iowa is not a completely unwinnable state for Democrats. It just happens to have this far right evangelical government right now. But, is it because states like Georgia got away with this? Republicans in Georgia passed almost the same kind of law and got away with it. Texas, they did it and got away with it in the midterms. All of them got reelected. Is it because Democratic voters aren't punishing people because and independent voters are very much against this stuff. Is it because these guys aren't being punished for it by getting voted out that they're doing it?
I think part of it is absolutely they're not getting punished enough. But I also think that we have to look at a lot of these electoral maps, and some of them are very much jam-packing these concentration of voters through gerrymandering where it becomes harder to compete. You mentioned a state like Texas. Texas, technically in the last census, Joy, they gained basically 4 congressional seats. 3 of them were supposed to be Latino, and 1 of them was supposed to be African American. That's not how it panned out when you came out with the district maps. And that is one of the places where we have to systemically work on to ensure that there is a real imagination of how do you actually conduct the census and what does the implication of that census have when it comes to drawing congressional lines. But taking a step back, what the Republicans right now are doing is that they're trying to solidify a base for their primaries. And so they're going as far right as possible. But this idea that they're going to be able to tack into the middle to win the hearts and minds of the majority of Americans doesn't make not only sense, but it's impossible. The only pathways that they have is the highly, disenfranchisement that they're doing at the state level. It's a state like North Carolina and even Georgia and Iowa and Texas that you mentioned. It is that kind of restrictions. When you have all 50 states basically saying, yes, we certified the 2020 election. Yes, it was above board. And then right shortly after, literally the month after, in January, they introduced over 300 pieces of legislation to impact 2024. So you need to have a battle at the courts. You need to reimagine how we do gerrymandering in this country, like get away with that. But at the end of the day, you also need to talk to voters because we're expecting on the eve of 2024 election over 12 million more young eligible voters than the last go around. And what they really don't believe in are these culture wars.
Yeah.
Yes, this is who we are. Bunch of ignorant people. All right, so let's talk about what the last lady said real quick. Gerrymandering. You want to look at gerrymandering? Look at Illinois. Look at Maryland. Look at New York. Some of those states actually had their redistricting bills or efforts struck down by judges because it was way too gerrymandering. But if you look at Illinois, they got away with it. That thing looks weird. It's got the weirdest shapes ever. And how come Democrats like gerrymandering according to race? What's up with that? What's up with that? I thought the great Martin Luther King Jr. said that we shouldn't be judging people by race. Yet Democrats like to separate people by race all the time. Kind of tells you who the real racists still are. Secondly, independence. I'm an independent. I'm a Christian, constitutional, conservative, independent. I don't do either party. They're both nuts to me. And so I am for total restriction of abortions, all of them. So I'm sure there's a lot of independents like me out there that are for the same thing too. Next, impact of 2020. She talked about these legislatures preparing for 2024 to impact it, to change voting laws that will benefit them. Well, guess what? Mark Elias, the lawyer for Hillary Clinton, went around to many states before the 2020 election to change election laws in those states, and he used COVID as an excuse. So Republicans are actually just playing catch up. You Democrats, you all did it already. You are ahead of the game. You've been doing it for a while. Everything you accuse Republicans of doing recently, you guys have been doing already before. Republicans are playing catch up. So without further ado, I'll leave it right there. Like, share, subscribe, comment in my section. And if you want to, again, see videos of me looking at Fox News, or just send me videos to down in the comments, I'll look at them. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.